Hit me.
From Studio A in Arcata, behind the redwood curtain, it's time for...
Succotash.
Succotash Clips, the original Comedy Soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And here's your host from up the coast, practically unknown outside of comedy soundcasting, Comedy Soundcast Soundcaster, Tyson Saner.
Saluton, estas me, Tyson Saner. Welcome to Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast. Thank you for making us your destination listening for this next interval in your existence. With all the available choices you have to choose from as far as soundcasts go, or podcasts as many people still refer to them, you chose us. And it is an honor. We've got an episode stuffed with content, including clips from My Best Breakup, Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, Broadway Baby, Mega, A Funny Feeling, and Fear Initiative. We've also got a rare triple Burst O Durst from raging moderate Will Durst, and selected reading from TrumpPoetry.com. So much to listen to, so little, well really, there's as much time as there is, isn't there? So let's crack on. Before we get into our clips, here's our first Burst O Durst for the evening. It's from February 22nd, 2019. It's called A Plague of Dems, in which our intrepid correspondent gets to swing the other way, and just before spring training, too.
Hey guys, Will Durst here with a few choice words about the number of Democrats with plans to run for the presidency in 2020. Holy moly catfish! There's a ton of them. Scads, gobs, oodles, a raft, a profusion. Veritable boatloads. Some might say a rash of candidates. A plague or even an epidemic. Already, even though we're a year out from the Iowa caucuses and the first debate isn't until June. 38 people have declared, and many more are poised to leap into this liberal scrum. And the truth is, most of us would vote for any one of them. The presidency of Donald Trump has resuscitated a term used back in the early 20th century. Yellow dog Democrats, for people who would cast a vote for a saffron-colored canine rather than a Republican. Well, this time around, many people would prefer a child's beach pail full of wet sand if they thought it could beat the 45th president of the United States. A banana-faced monkey dribbler, a reeking heap of steaming feces. Because it would be our reeking heap of steaming feces, as opposed to that reeking heap of steaming feces currently soiling the Oval Office furniture. Even Bernie Sanders has thrown his hat into the ring. Well, near the ring. His aim isn't what it used to be. Some Democrats whine that they would prefer a Democrat win the Democratic nomination, but that's just nitpicking. The big difference is, in this race, Senator Sanders is going to have to share that far-left lane. He won't even be the most socialist of the candidates this time around, which is his own damn fault. After all, he blazed the trail. But it's almost certain that the Burnmeister will still be the crankiest candidate. Pretty sure his campaign website is heyyoupunksgetoffmylawn.com. For Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you, Will Durst. All right, let's get to the clips. First up tonight, My Best Breakup by Hello Sunshine. Show description reads, sometimes the best beginnings start with an ending. Reese Witherspoon and Hello Sunshine bring you this warm and funny show, My Best Breakup, hosted by the charming Maeve Higgins and featuring a different breakup story each week. You will fall in love with our guests as they describe how their breakups transformed their lives. Leaving a relationship, dumping your dentist, suddenly becoming an empty nester, or even stepping back from your religion, we want to know where that breakup took you. Share your story with us with the hashtag MyBestBreakup. This clip is from the show released November 19th, 2018 called Hannah Gadsby Breaks Up with Self-Deprecation. Its description reads, lots of comedians poke fun at themselves for laughs, and as Hannah Gadsby explains, her deep unease with success coupled with the invisibility she often felt as a queer, autistic woman turned self-deprecation into an automatic response, on stage and off. But now Hannah has made a conscious decision to view the world in a new way, without a filter of shame.
So it's probably obvious that I have a bit of an infatuation with self-deprecation too, but it seems like Hannah's actually figured out how to start changing her relationship with self-deprecation. She started realising what she was doing and how damaging that was, and her breakup with self-deprecation coincided with another big realisation about herself.
I got diagnosed with autism. I'm on the spectrum, what they call high functioning, but I can attest that I'm not that. But that was a relief in a way. So that gave me this sudden, honestly, the thought came into my head, oh, I'm not broken. The world is. Because just understanding that the way I see the world was isolating me because the world decided that brains like mine shouldn't exist.
Were you sitting in like a doctor's office?
Of course not. I was Googling it. It was a self-diagnosis in the beginning. Come on. But what had happened is after I do, so many times someone would come up to me after a show and go, do you know you might be on the spectrum?
That's not what I would expect to hear after a comedy show.
Yeah. I'm signing T-Test. Do you think you're on the spectrum? Why are you talking to me? That's a good clue. But it's... But the thing about that is that I ignored it because what I understand of autism is it's something boys get.
Yeah.
Not grown women. Oh, I've had it all my life. It's how it works. But I was a grown woman. And that there's no capacity for empathy. And I understood myself to be an incredibly, I can't say the word, empathetic.
Self-defecating.
Is it empathetic?
Yeah, empathetic.
Self-defecating. And so I never really resonated.
Yeah.
It's just but that's because our understanding of it, and it's been researched traditionally just through, boys. And so I thought, I can't have autism. I mean, I do fly Qantas, but if you drop a box of matches, don't know how many's there, don't like trains.
Not related to Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Fuel. Swings and roundabouts. So... and then I don't know what really pushed me to finally hear it.
Right.
But I Googled it and it just felt good. And I'd been misdiagnosed with quite a lot of things over the years because of the issues I was having.
Like health stuff and mental health.
Yeah, because after every festival I have a breakdown.
Yeah.
And that's because I realised something like a festival is incredibly exhausting for somebody like me. Just understanding that, and then you change. Instead of looking into myself going, what's wrong with my story, what's wrong with me, I'm going, if I took more naps and had more alone time and didn't feel guilty about not being social, and life just became easier. So I Googled it, researched it, because that's the beauty of a brain on the spectrum is it's a problem-solving brain. And I ran a series of lifestyle experiments, and life immediately became better.
Wow.
That's why I got dogs, because, redesigned my interior of my house to be easier. Life immediately got really, really easy. With that came a lot of shame and grief, because, my gosh, I've struggled with this my whole life. Being invisible meant that I didn't get the help I needed, the external scaffolding, as I like to call it.
The lifestyle experiments, were any of those to do with self-deprecation? Like, was there a moment when you thought, what if I stop? Or what were those lifestyle
Absolutely.
experiments?
So a lot of it's to do with doing too much in a day, because it looks like I've got time for these things, but you're incredibly sensitive. Oh, I am incredibly sensitive of an oral processing disorder. So sounds are really a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I describe it as a manual brain. So you think manually. So you can walk in a room, it may be familiar, you may have been in that room 100 times, but I'm scanning it. I don't go into automatic pilot. So everything is a conscious thought, which is fine, but not when you're trying to live like how you see other people living. It's like, I should be going out. I should be doing this. This is what normal people do. And I can do it for a certain amount of time, but then I collapse. And so then I say, well, I don't do these things anymore. And I'm quite happy. I don't feel a sense of shame of being antisocial, because I'm not. I just really like hanging out with my dogs and gardening and thinking just letting go of all these things. But then part of that, I started to hear myself and the way I thought about myself. And that's where I really understood the self-deprecation was a function of trying to be social.
Right.
So I'm observing how people react to me, how people talk about me, how people talk about people like me, and I adopt it, and I owned it, and then I'd mirror it. And then, understanding that about myself, I'm like, oh, this is what's wrong with the world. The way people talk about women, the way people talk about queer people, the way they talk about difference is wrong.
Tasmanians,
that's actually right. We are a little bit inbred. It's a small island.
So the show is hosted on Art19 at art-9.com/shows/my-best-break-up, and also at hellosunshine.com, which is HELLO-SUNSHINE.com, and then /my-best-break-up. You can reach Hannah Gadsby on Twitter at HANNAHGADSBY, Maeve Higgins at MAEVEHIGGINS. Reese Witherspoon can be reached at RWITHERSPOON, and Hello Sunshine can be reached on Twitter at Hello Sunshine, HELLOSUNSHINE. Next up is a soundcast that I admit I do clip often. I think this might be the third time I have clipped him. It's Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. This is a clip from episode 242 with Joel Grey. It was released January 14th, 2019, and its description reads, Oscar and Tony-winning actor Joel Grey drops by the studio to have a bit of fun at the co-host's expense, to share amusing anecdotes about Bob Fosse, Buck Henry, Larry Hagman, and Lana Turner, and to discuss his new Yiddish-language version of Fiddler on the Roof. Also, Rita Hayworth breaks hearts, Pat McCormick plays Grover Cleveland, Gilbert pulls out his George Jessel impression, and Joel shares the stage with the late, great Eddie Cantor. Plus, Man on a Swing, loving Jack Gilford and James Garner. Hal Prince saves the day, the genius of Will Jordan, and Joel remembers his dad, the legendary Mickey Katz. The clip is about the Yiddish-language version of The Fiddler on the Roof.
Tell us about this, your production of Fiddler on the Roof.
And who it's a tribute to.
Well, I got a call from this gentleman that runs the National Theater Yiddish Volksbühne, which means the stage, Yiddish stage. And he's a great, a great figure in the Yiddish theater world. And he said, I've always wanted to do Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. And there was a production 50 years ago in Israel. And I've gotten the rights to do it. Would you like to direct it? And I said, that's a rather wild idea because I don't speak Yiddish. But I know that play very, very well. I have loved it from the first preview, which I saw in Washington before it came to New York.
With Zero?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And I've seen every production ever since. And I love that musical, and I think it's a great score. It's just everything good. And I also loved Sholem Aleichem's stories, and that's what this Tevye and his daughters was taken from and made into Fiddler. And I woke up the next morning, and I said to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know quite what to do, but I'm going to do it. And I decided that then and there. And it just came. We get these wonderful actors who did not speak Yiddish.
I heard you say 3/4 of the cast didn't speak any Yiddish. And so how, the obvious question, how does a man who doesn't speak Yiddish direct other actors to speak it?
Oh, thank you so much. I knew what it was about, so I could tell the actors.
I see.
And we rehearsed it in English. And then, once they understood it in English, then they added the Yiddish language.
And are you honoring your dad a little bit by doing this show?
I sure hope so.
Good. That's nice. That's nice. I know you don't speak it, but is it true that you learned a little bit from listening to his records?
Not much.
Not much.
No, I mean, I know the jokes.
Yeah, the jokes. Right. You knew enough. And he taught you to respect the audience, too, your father. I heard you say that in an interview.
Everything. He was a musician, essentially. That's really what he adored, was playing the clarinet and playing with his musician friends. He just loved that.
The fraternity of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if he played a gig, like a wedding or something, if there was one person on the dance floor, he was still there.
Wow. That's great. We had Gino Conforti on this show, by the way, who is notable because I believe he was the original fiddler.
He was?
Yeah.
I knew him, too.
Yeah, good guy.
Very sweet.
Yeah, he's in L.A., still around, did this show. Gilbert sang some fiddler. What you sang with Andrea Martin when she was here?
Oh, I think Do You Love Me?
There you go. There you go. That's a show that he cares about.
And I heard that when Gino Conforti was the fiddler, Zero Mostel he would start yelling stuff that was not in the script. And he started yelling, get off the roof, you fucking kiddie. This is a Jew production.
According to Gino.
That's not my style.
But what did you think of Zero Mostel?
Thought he was a genius. I loved him. But if I were the director and he was fucking with my show like that, it would not be good.
Oh.
Yeah. He colored outside the lines a lot, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and, threw the play away in a way. Although he was charming and wonderful, and then the rest of the actors were left
right, of course,
often hanging and looking bad.
Possibly why he wasn't offered the film, and because he was difficult, or because he was asking too much money, or something like that.
I don't have any. I know nothing about that history.
We'll have to ask Norman Jewison when we have him on.
You can reach Joel Grey on Twitter at JOELGREY. You can reach the Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish on Twitter at capital FIDDLER, capital N, capital Y, capital C. Frank Santopadre can be reached at capital FRANKSANTOPADRE, and Gilbert Gottfried can be reached at Real Gilbert, that is capital REAL, capital GILBERT. Now on iTunes, the main website is listed as being at Earwolf, which is EARWOLF.com, and then it's /show/Gilbert-Gottfried. But I can't help but think it's really www.gilbertpodcast.com, which is also where you can find the show. And that is GILBERTPODCAST.com. In our number 3 position is a soundcast I know very little about, but I've listened to a few episodes and I find it quite entertaining. It's called Broadway Baby by Unknown. Its very short description reads, join host Kimberly Schmidt and her husband Jay as they try to transform their friend Alex Vasella from casual theater goer to full-out fanboy. And this clip is from the pilot, which was released August 6, 2018. And as it says, in our pilot episode, join hosts Kimberly and Jay Schmidt and Broadway baby Alex Vasella as they discuss their personal history with theater and discuss Alex's first homework assignment, the cast album on Hair, which is what is in this clip. Partially.
So our first homework assignment that I gave Alex sitting in a bar 2 weeks ago was that I thought he might like Hair. Because Hair is the first ever... people argue for Bye Bye Birdie, and I'll fight them to it.
Okay.
That this was the first rock musical.
Bye Bye Birdie is not.
I know.
It's read more like a R&B, but like in the old like Elvis sense.
It's
right?
a rock musical in the fact that it has some rock music.
Yeah.
So like it has a few like Elvis-y songs, but then it But then it has show tunes.
Follow me.
English
here.
teacher.
Yeah, it's about a rock singer.
It is yes. It is like how when people say that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. No, it is an action movie that happens to take place during Christmas.
Yes.
Like Bye Bye Birdie is a musical that just happens to be written about a
rock
star.
Yeah.
So some of the songs are rock songs.
But rock and roll in the like old Elvis sense, not rock and
the
roll
Buddy Holly
in
sense.
In the Buddy, like in the the Happy Days sense, not rock and roll in the like Hair is like the Janis Joplin.
Yeah. Hair comes in and it's on Quaaludes, and Bye Bye
Yeah,
Birdie's
man.
like, oh, what's...
Dude,
you okay,
yeah.
buddy?
Bye Bye
Hair
Birdie's-
is all of the kids from Bye Bye Birdie who moved to the East Village and left their parents.
Yes.
Hair is at like just a normal like social function, and is like it offers Bye Bye Birdie Coke in the bathroom, and Bye Bye Birdie straight up narcs.
Bye Bye Birdie would narc on Hair.
Bye Bye Birdie would totally
Of
narc
course
on
it
Hair.
would.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I did a bunch of research on Hair, but I
Yeah.
first just want to know, Alex, what did you think of it?
I love Hair. I think that I don't know if I would love watching it because it's just them sitting in a circle, and then I know it gets more complicated, but I think all the songs...
Yes, squares, then triangles.
Yeah, the only songs I didn't like were toward the end. It was like one or two of them. The rest I
Which
think
ones?
are all... The Bed I wasn't thrilled about.
The Bed?
Yeah, and then Good Morning Starshine is like okay, but the rest of them are like, oh, these
I
are
like Good
all
Morning
great.
Starshine.
Now, when I was a kid, I mentioned my music recitals before. I was really looking for a song to play for the recital that I was going to drum to, and I was racking my brain, and then I said to my teacher,
recital.
"Mm-hmm."
I don't think I've ever been to one of those.
Well, everybody was playing different stuff. I was on drums.
How do you recite?
we all-
But were you alone, or you were with a band?
We all played along to just a track on a CD that we had picked. It was
amazing.
Yeah, I usually did Beatles stuff when I couldn't think of a Beatles to do, so I was like, "Oh,
they didn't write enough songs."
No, not enough. So few given to history." And then I was like, "Oh, I saw that song Hair in a Simpsons episode, and I loved it. Can I do Hair?" And my dad was like, "Why the fuck do you want to do that?" He got weirdly belligerent about it because I think he hates anything that's like hippies disrespecting the military. Like,
Sure.
my dad's one regret,
And they burned draft cards at the end of Act
my,
1
my dad
while
once
getting
told me
naked.
His biggest regret is that he was too young to fight in Vietnam. And I was like 10, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, even then, I knew.
What an interesting thing to say.
Very strange. But so then he begrudgingly bought me the tape, and I think I listened to it a little bit and liked it. But then I listened to it fully as an adult, and I was like, "This is so good." Bass lines are kicking, just so good.
Yeah.
It shreds. It really does.
Totally
shred.
shreds.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best. I don't know if sometimes the music may be better than the actual show.
That's what I'm worried
Oh,
about.
true.
If I saw it, would I just be
And
annoyed?
like when I was going through, because I was like, "Oh, we'll talk about like the history of musical theater, and we'll get into like the structure of a musical." And I was like, "This is not the best one to start with to talk about structure."
Yeah,
No structure.
it's
I was
flat
like,
structure.
"There's really no I Want song. There's no."
It seems more like a hangout kind of a thing. And then there's
Yes,
the
it's like
narrative
a
of going to
jam
numb.
band concert
Yeah.
was a musical.
Yeah, it was Rent before Rent.
Yeah, and because it is the East Village, and
Oh,
it is
yeah.
about the culture of the East Village.
It's a character piece.
Yeah.
It's a character piece. What I found really interesting going through the history, because I had learned about it in college a little bit, because we did part of our semester was about rock musicals because we were cool. But what I completely forgot is that the people who decided to write this show were not hippies.
Oh yeah, the dude you showed me that wrote it looks like at least like the guy you'd think would write Hair.
Exactly, like Jerome Ragney and James Rado, who were in it. They were Claude and Berger, I think, at least on Broadway for a little bit.
Oh, so they wrote it and started.
They wrote it and started.
Oh.
They were just actors that had done a lot of Shakespeare together.
Okay.
And then one of them, I forget who, just saw these hippies in the East Village and found them fascinating and started interviewing them, and were like, "This is a show." And then they found Galt McDermott, who was just this man living on Staten Island with his family, writing musicals. And they're like, "Do you think you could write this kind of musical?" And he was like, "Okay."
Come to the big city off
And
your
they
island.
would just write it and write all the lyrics and send it off to him, and then he would send them a song.
Huh.
It wasn't
through the mail.
Yeah, and you see Hair, and you're like, "Oh, it was probably this cool collaborative hippie commune experience."
They're all doing poppers.
You want to write a show about hippies? Okay.
It was more like that.
Here it is. We did it.
And then
Everything's according to business here.
yeah, and so then somehow I guess because of the Shakespeare, they knew Joe Papp, who ran the Public Theater. But at that point, he really just had, it wasn't even the Delacorte yet, but it was just Summer Shakespeare was what the Public was. But they bought that space on Lafayette Street where they are now. Yeah. And then, and he was like, oh, well, this musical could be fun to open up my theater. And so Hair was the first ever show at the Public.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's kind of cool.
You can reach Broadway Baby on Twitter at Broadway Baby Pod. That is at capital BROADWAYBABYPOD. Kimberly Schmidt can be reached at Kimbercoops, which is capital KIMBER, capital COOPS. Jay Schmidt at The Jay Schmidt, which is at capital THE, capital JAY, capital SCHMIDT. Alex Fossella can be reached at A Fossella, that is capital AFOSSELLA. And the main website is listed on iTunes, is broadwaybaby.libsyn.com/website. And that is BROADWAYBABY.libsyn, which is LIBSYN.com/website.
This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
That's right, TrumpPoetry.com. Our selections for this episode are fairly recent. They are from days 676 and 666. 676 is the 16th of March, 2019. And it goes like this. When Congress gave Trump a defeat on his border wall crisis conceit, while perched on his throne, he picked up his phone and delivered his veto by tweet. On March 26, 2019, it was entry labeled 666. The poem of the beast now, 666, the downward spiral of my daily counting, with rancor on both sides, the pressure mounting, combines with ego for a toxic mix. Exonerated by who he appointed, proclaiming victory, this Teflon Don is free to proudly perpetrate the con, emerging as his base's true anointed. And with that 4-page summary in hand, he rubs it in the face of his accusers, those fiction-writing sick and biased losers, and moves ahead more firmly in command. It seems, with Russians, he did not consort. Still, we demand to see the full report.
Right? Right.
And now it's time for our second burst of Durst for the evening. From March 8th, 2019, The Roller Coaster of Spin, in which our intrepid correspondent goes back and forth, focusing on the inevitable.
Hey guys, Will Durst here to say maybe we're paying too much attention. Seem to be caught in a loop here. After 17 months of campaigning and 2 years into his reign of error, the nation has become numb to the president's dumpy, Trumpy, trampy shenanigans. Every day it's the same damn thing. News surfaces that the White House has been discovered to be involved in some dastardly situation. Either there's proof they did something they swore up and down they didn't do, or they're caught in an obvious lie, or someone says something out loud that would have sunk a previous administration so deep in a swamp of outrage they'd be floating upside down like tropical fish after a week of not being fed. Then the New York Times quotes unnamed sources who confirm not only this, but more egregious stuff as well. Then Fox News calls for another Benghazi hearing. Then Democrats argue amongst themselves over whether the latest revelation is an impeachable offense, coming to no conclusion. Then Trump's base says that they don't believe it happened, and if it did happen, Hillary Clinton was way worse, and she was a woman. Then the Washington Post prints a graph that documents this sort of thing has happened 18 gazillion times before. Then Mitch McConnell makes turtle noises. Then the National Enquirer prints a cover photo with Elizabeth Warren holding a bloody knife in front of a daycare center and a 4-page story about her child prostitution ring run out of a Provincetown video store. Then Bernie Sanders supporters say this is further proof Bernie would have won. Then Mike Pence says he doesn't know anything. And then the very next day, it starts all over again. We're stuck on a roller coaster coaster of spin with a minimum of 2 years to go. Pass the Dramamine, please. For Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
Thank you again, Will Durst. All right, in the fourth position is a podcast called Mega, M-E-G-A. It's by Campfire Media, and it is an improvised satire from the staff of a fictional megachurch. This clip is from an episode called Walk Into Your Blessing with Edgar Blackman, released January 6, 2019. And in the description it says, Edward Blackthorne, and then Edgar Blackman and Alone Together /pop star in the parentheses, comes by to talk sports, Game of Thrones, and falling in love. Amen! !
Now, Edward, are you married?
Oh, yeah, we got to hear. I mean, there's so much I want to know. We got to talk about you and your life.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not yet married.
Okay.
Oh,
but
I find that surprising.
That is really surprising.
I know.
Well, I am dating someone, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting. It's very new.
Oh, that's the best.
And I'm just hoping for the best.
Yes.
I can just
Okay, you got it. You don't have to name names, but you've got to tell us a little bit because I just want to.
It's Jenica Wilson. Oh my goodness! I'm. It's like a fire shut up in my bones. I can't sit on this truth.
Okay.
Jenica Wilson, she is like bread from heaven.
Hold on. Jenica, what is it, the Allstate? She's got that Allstate business down
That's
the road.
right. That's right. That's right.
Former volleyball player for U of I.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, it's very exciting.
Well, how many dates are we in?
Well, okay, so we have gone on 3 dates.
And she's probably, 6'2"?
Oh,
She's
she's
an
very
outside
tall.
hitter.
She's
Yeah.
very
She's-
tall.
Right.
She's 6'2" in the program, but she's really 6'1". Don't tell her I told you.
Oh, we're getting the inside
She
scoop.
likes to remain threatening for the spikes. But
Sure.
yeah, it's a very exciting time, and I think that the Lord has blessed me to find someone who sees past my shortness, and I see past her height, and we just see each other for the spirits that we are.
Right. It seems like she's probably looking right at the horizon and you're looking right at a high.
Oh, like waist level.
Right. Okay.
And
Even
overall,
lower.
girls really don't care about that stuff.
No.
No, not if they're blessed and highly favored. Okay.
Amen, man.
I say, Lord, be a step stool. Amen.
And what? So how long? So when did this all start? You've just been on a few dates.
Yeah, did you ask her out? Did she ask you out? How'd you meet?
Well, Take Me to the CrossFit is not simply a place for people to watch sports, but it is a place for people to engage in sports.
Okay.
We have a lot of little leagues, not little league, but small leagues within our congregation, and so during our co-ed singles basketball league, which is just 3 games, and then a championship, we met. She set a very hard screen on me. And
okay, so you set this up. So I see what's happening here.
So here I am, just going about my business, being the outside shooter that I am, because I can't take it to the basket because I'm small. I just came around this screen, and she set such a powerful screen.
Sure.
And for those listeners that do not know, a screen is much like a wall of Jericho that a person sets in order to protect their ball handler, but the walls do not come tumbling down.
Okay.
I came tumbling down. I came tumbling down, and I looked up, and she kind of gave me a wink, and I said, "Oh,
wow.
Oh well, it looks like I might have been touched by an angel." And
oh, you said that,
and I did. I said, "Well, it was a very powerful screen you set," and she said, "You got to keep your head on a swivel," and I was like, "Well, how about I keep you on a swivel?"
Oh,
I
Edward,
like it.
what?
I like
Very
it.
forward,
I
but
like
but
it.
as they say, you got to shoot your shot.
Yes,
Right.
you do.
And I said,
Even
"I'll
when
keep."
you're not open.
Yes, I said, "How about I keep you on a swivel chair?" And we went out to a restaurant, a sports restaurant, and sat down and watched some sports together.
Yes.
I
You know
love
what?
it.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Am I right?
Amen.
this is so awesome because I played in one of those little leagues for a while, but I cannot do the co-ed thing. I just can't do that. I just want everybody to be anyway.
Is it the temptation?
No, I just if a woman could lift as much as a man, run as fast as a man, jump as high as a man, I'd be fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just I haven't found a league where that. Look.
Well, don't let Jenica hear you say that.
Okay.
Now, I do believe. Now, I don't know what this holy equation is, but there is certainly a height to weight ratio that must exist in the mind of our Creator that says, okay, if a woman is 6'1" and a man is 5'1", that she's better at basketball, and that's okay.
That's great.
And that's his blessing upon us.
I love that balance, too. I mean, you've got to have balance, right? Mm-hmm. Balance is the key of life. I mean, that's also in the Bible.
That is true.
You can find the show on Twitter at Mega the Podcast, which is at MEGATHEPODCAST. And Campfire Media is _Campfire, capital WE, capital ARE, _CAMPFIRE. And the show can be found hosted at Anchor FM, which is ANCHOR.FM/MEGA3. And that's the numeral 3. All right, in the number 5 position, A Funny Feeling by Headgum. Comedians and paranormal enthusiasts Betsy Sidaro and Marcy Giroux invite their comedian friends and celebrity guests to tell their true paranormal experiences and hear spooky stories submitted by listeners. This is a clip from episode 69 called NorCal Mysteries with Jessica Jardine from Carditionit. It was released January 22nd, 2019. Its description says, "We have a true gem of a storyteller, Jessica Jardine, on with us to discuss her NorCal upbringing with so many stories of serial killers and the Winchester Mystery House." Jessica Jardine is the co-host of Carditionit, which is a soundcast she co-hosts with Marcy Giroux.
Okay, so Jess.
Yes.
Let's get something out of the way. Do you have any personal paranormal experiences?
I would say no.
Great. But you do have some fun, spooky-ish stories for us.
I thought so. Yes, I like. This is why I was sort of thinking to myself, like, I wonder why I haven't had so many, because it feels like a lot of people have in their lives, and I truly was asking myself, like, why? I wonder why. I just have no connection to it, and that was my thinking about my family. But it did also then make me think about growing up, and I remembered that I grew up within, like, truly a couple miles of the Winchester Mystery House. Yes. We love that house. So that was why I was teasing it to you guys before, because I was like, so I grew up, it's in San Jose, and I'm sure you guys, I was curious what you guys had already talked about.
There.
I went there.
And then she covered it.
I remembered.
Did I cover it? I did.
You covered it on the...
You did.
Let's talk about it.
Well, it was so interesting because I wanted to go back and look and see how you guys had covered it, because I was so... It's kind of like the way we're talking about the Scary Stories book, right? Like that idea of, like, a story you've had in your head and, like, oh yeah, that's the story of that thing, and then to look back as, like, a grown woman and be like... Oh, this is like scary, but also like so sad.
Yeah,
and when you
really
see all of
sad.
the like the way you suddenly see what like is really going on, you know, and it's like it's the same in horror movies and stuff where it's like, oh, the story is like a woman had a miscarriage and went crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
mama.
Yeah,
close to mama.
Yeah, but for anyone who's not familiar, or for her, it doesn't know the details. It's this crazy house in San Jose, this like giant mansion.
It's awesome.
And my hometown is Los Gatos, which is this smaller town just like down the road from it. The Cats, which is truly filled with cats. Sorry, Betsy.
My God.
Mountain lions. It's named for mountain lions.
I mean, my house is filled with cats.
Yeah, you would do really well in my town.
My attic cats.
You'd be the mayor.
You could be the mayor of the cats.
Apparently there are cats in my attic, Betsy.
Oh, they're fun. It's a
Doesn't
teenager.
that sound like an old-timey phrase for when a woman lost it?
Yes.
Well, she's got some cats in her attic. Oh, okay, we'll drown her.
Wait, is she a witch?
Yeah.
Put her in the crank box.
Put her in the crank box.
We just
drop it
gotta
in the
squish
ocean.
her brain back in her head real fast.
That's
pull out
basically
that
what,
junk.
but like kind of to the point, it's like how you look back and you're like, wait, lobotomies were a thing? You know, like
recent, like
yes, my mom,
the like 60s.
My mom had a friend who got a lobotomy.
They scrape out the front part of your brain.
Yes, the front
to
cortex.
make you not.
The person
To make you a vegetable that can move.
And that all of science and medicine was like, yes,
Yeah,
great
exactly.
idea.
This is what we do.
Because it's like, I guess they're thinking is that, like, well, they're ruined, but it's easier for us to deal with.
Marcy, exactly. This was like the epiphany I had. I think my mom had been telling me a story about a friend who got a lobotomy.
She's like, she
what
wasn't
a
fun.
wild sentence that is.
She was no longer fun, Jess.
My
Let me tell
mom,
you.
you should have my mom on, because she has stories of like fully all the things, from growing up in like Mad Men times and being a secretary at into like the 70s and lobotomies being frequent and like, anyways, but. It was so weird to revisit, because it's like the Winchester Mystery House it's like a very big landmark in my area. Yeah. There's really nothing like it. And it's also next to the movie theaters and
in Ike's place.
Yeah. And it's changed that area. So you went recently.
Yeah.
And like, what did you think of it when you went?
I had a blast, but it was truly like in an area where I was like, I thought it would be like far out into the woods
it's
or something.
next to literally the mall,
like
as
a
in
mall.
like the high school mall where we
That's
went, like
very funny.
where you would just go after school and like walk around.
I feel I parked in like a Kmart parking lot.
I like when my mystery houses are in a central location, easily accessible.
It's truly
there's a
in the middle.
Chipotle, there's
the
an Ike's sandwich
it's
place.
next to the highway. It's like
that's what I hate about Louisiana. The Myrtles is so out of the way.
This is centrally located, and it was so weird to remember that you go on school trips.
Yes.
And so like I saw it first as like a kid, like a fourth grader,
historical kind of context.
And it's like, it's so strange, because I was thinking about it and like revisiting it and reading the story today before coming here, and it was like, what an odd. I mean, it's a landmark. It's a beautiful building. It's like a cool house, but that it's like built and has this legacy of like full mental illness, you know, and like a sad death, and like it's so bizarre to imagine the way that like, and it's because you got to take kids to stuff and what's near you and everything.
Yeah,
but that like my first what's like one of the first things I remember taking a school trip to is like walking through and being like, and that idea also the way that like women's crazy is thrown around like that, because I fully remember them being like. The guide being like, and she was crazy, like to scare us.
Jessica Jardine can be reached on Twitter at capital J, capital J, capital J, capital L, capital A. That is 3 J's, an L, and an A. Betsy Sidaro, of course, can be reached at Birdie So Dirty, which is capital BIRDY, capital SODERDY. Marcy Giroux can be reached at Marcy Lane, capital MARCY, capital LANE. And the show can be reached at Funny Feeling Pod, capital FUNNY, capital FEELING, capital POD. If you want to go to the website, it is at headgum.com/a funny feeling, which is HEADGUM.com/a-funny-FEELING. And finally tonight, Fear Initiative by Blumhouse. From the description, Fear Initiative, a weekly horror role-playing game podcast. Join Game Master David Ian McHenry as he takes players Morgan Peter Brown, Cara Mandel, Jeff Seidman, Megan Duffy, Rob Schraub, Josh Forbes, and Clark Wolf on a weekly horror-inspired RPG adventure. Creepy dolls, soulless killers, and bloodthirsty beasts. This RPG is scary as shit, with occasional music numbers. Tune in every week to hear what new horrific quest awaits. And I've chosen the first episode for this, so it's called Beginnings. It was released August 14th, 2018. It says the Fear Initiative crew comes together, seemingly by accident, meeting late one night at a tavern. After much discussion and apprehension, Balance, who is a tiefling cleric, Lily, a Gynox rogue, Grimly, bugbear barbarian, and Sorsha, quarter-elf hamadryad ranger, enlist the help of a human fighter named Will, Oriana, the tiefling morlock, and Vermithrax, the human wizard, to assist them in raiding the thieves' hideout. This clip is of the crew meeting Vermithrax for the first time, who is Rob Schraub, director, comic book writer, and frequent guest on Harmontown, another soundcast. It occasionally has role-playing games played on it.
Hey guys, thanks for sharing a drink with me. It's pretty cool.
Thank you,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Vermithrax, the Haunted One.
Thank you.
It's kind of needy.
Esquire.
I don't know what Esquire means, but sure.
Vermithrax, are you staying here in the hotel?
Yeah, I'm just kind of haunting this one of my haunts. here.
Local haunt.
Local. Yeah. Look, I didn't get your name. I didn't get your.
Oh, I'm Sorsha, and I'm only 6 feet tall.
Only 6 feet tall.
I mean,
Sorsha.
I am a woman, but
Hey, that's all right. My mom was a woman.
What brings you to Galice, Mr. Vermithrax?
Let's just say I needed to get out of town quickly and leave it at that.
I feel that.
Yeah.
No, I think really.
Seems like you guys are all running or searching for something as well.
We're actually on a mission.
Well, I mean,
what kind of mission
strong
are you
word.
guys on?
No, that's
Is there a
maybe mission. Just vacation. I meant to say vacation. I don't know why I said mission.
I'm pretty sure I
meant to
heard
say
you say
vacation.
We're just here to do a job.
Sorry,
heard
I've
you
been
say
drinking,
mission, too.
so I just misspoke. We're just vacationing.
We're here to do a
In
job for a
Galice.
very concerned seamstress who needed help from talented individuals such as ourselves.
I chose you.
Bag.
I said, and she chose you?
Yes, she did.
We made a very compelling case
We did.
as a group. We have a lot of talents.
You
Wow.
look very talented.
We're tired. We just
Hey,
even.
I don't know. You guys are, looking for some extra help, but I'm looking to get some walk around money, and kind of, in between jobs would be if you guys need like the help of a wizard. And at that point, I try to cast a spell to impress them. I cast Firebolt.
Oh,
Are you casting it at something?
At the like up.
Okay.
Up.
So you open up your hands.
Well, I make a big ta-da of it. I kind of go, if you let me back up. If you guys are in need of a wizard,
And then firebolt bursts up through the ceiling and blows a hole right in the top of
oh my goodness!
out the top of it.
Oh, no.
Wow.
yes,
Very impressive.
yes,
Fireworks.
yes.
Devin runs out of from the kitchen. What was that? What was that?
Lightning hit
Oh
the
my
building.
God!
Hey.
I like that.
Gabriel's gonna
indoor
kill me.
lightning.
Oh, what happened? Lightning?
Yes, a lightning giant came by and just like poked his finger. And
my God.
did you guys see that? That was crazy.
And he runs back to the kitchen.
Oh man.
Yeah, I totally saw that.
That guy seems
Thanks,
like
Will.
a loose cannon. I like him.
all right.
I have other spells too.
And please don't. No more examples.
That's
at
all
the
you get
at
for
the
free.
moment. No. Yes.
First one's free. Second
Well-
one's costly.
We do have certain needs of some magical arts, I suppose.
Then you're gonna really
Grimley's-
gonna like working with me.
Grimley's like off. Walks off into the corner and is like counting to 10 and doing a little angry Arthur fist because he's trying to like stop being so angry.
I don't know if you guys are in a hurry, but I think we might want to between the hole in the ceiling. I don't know. I mean, I'm anxious to kind of get on this mission.
Weren't we gonna stay?
We were going to stay
gonna
here
stay here
tonight. I mean,
tonight.
you may have made that difficult.
Oh, I thought you guys were
Did it-
just gonna like pop in for a drink.
Is that did it go up into one of the rooms?
It-
or-
Oh, yeah.
It might have. It might be burning still. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
All right, it's smoking a little bit.
Okay. Hey,
I think
if you guys want to stay here, I can meet you here tomorrow.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning.
thing in the morning.
Okay.
After breakfast.
After breakfast. All right. And hey, let's toast to a new adventure.
A new adventure.
So what are the two of you guys doing?
I'm toasting along with them.
Oh.
I got a free drink out of this.
Okay.
I mean,
Yay!
All right. Cheers
To a new adventure.
A new adventure.
Cheers.
I didn't catch your name.
I'm Oriana.
Oriana, and what do? You do like what? What do you got? What do you got going on?
I don't know that I'm going to tell you that. We just met.
Okay. Enjoy your drink. All right.
So, how are we going to be spending the remainder of the evening in this?
I guess I'll go up to my room and make sure it isn't on fire.
I think I need a nap.
You can reach David Ian McKendry on Twitter at DieDaveDive. That is capital D-I-E, capital D-A-V-E, capital D-I-E. Morgan Peter Brown can be reached at Morgan Pete Brown. That is capital M-O-R-G-A-N, capital P-E-T-E, capital B-R-O-W-N. Cara Mandel can be reached at Cara Mandel, capital C-A-R-A, capital M-A-N-D-E-L. Jeff Seidman can be reached at Jeff Seidman Jr., capital J-E-F-F, capital S-E-I-D-M-A-N, capital J-R. Megan Duffy can be reached at The Megan Duffy, capital T-H-E, capital M-E-G-A-N, capital D-U-F-F-Y. Rob Schraub can be reached at Rob Schraub, capital R-O-B, capital C-H-R-A-B. Josh Forbes can be reached at Best Josh Forbes, B-E-S-T-J-O-S-H-F-O-R-B-E-S. Clark Wolf can be reached at Clark Wolf, C-L-A-R-K-E-W-O-L-F-E. The show can be reached at Fear Initiative, capital F-E-A-R, capital I-N-I-T-I-A-T-I-V-E. And Blumhouse can be reached at B-L-U-M-H-O-U-S-E. If you want to go to the website, it's hosted over at fearinitiative.libsyn.com/website. And again, Fear Initiative is F-E-A-R-I-N-I-T-I-A-T-I-V-E. And before we go, our final Burst O Durst for the evening. From March 14th, 2019. Rich is as Rich does. In which our intrepid correspondent gets all persnickety about some rich kids and their parents.
Hey guys, Will Durst here to say, oh my God, stop the presses. Turns out rich people use their money to extract privileges denied poor folks. Yes, you're right. This is unbelievable. What's next? The Pacific Ocean is moist? Plumbers are expensive? Landlords opposed to rent control? Couch cushions in suburban Midwestern basements with beer stains? In an FBI sting called Operation Varsity Blues, 33 parents have been accused of trying to buy their kids' admission to prestigious universities through nefarious means, instead of earning a slot the old-fashioned way, by bribing schools with hefty donations, like Jared Kushner's dad did when he gave $2.5 million to Harvard, which is a tradition both sanctioned and tax-deductible. Hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Of course, Jared did learn how to succeed by marrying into a richer family, or at least what he thought was a richer family. One famous actress supposedly paid $500,000 to get two daughters into USC pretending they were crew athletes. That's $250,000 apiece. How stupid were these kids? Well, glad you asked. One of them went on Instagram and posted a video. I want the experience of, like, game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know. Sounds like this one couldn't spell SAT if you spotted her the S and the A. And now the expected deluge of lawsuits has begun. One student is suing because she couldn't get into USC and had to settle for Stanford. One lawyer, on behalf of a mother whose kid didn't get into their school of choice, is suing for $500 billion, with a B. This guy obviously went to a good school and majored in fantasy, probably a graduate of Trump University. For Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, I'm Will Durst.
You can reach Will Durst on Twitter at WILLDURST, or you can go to willdurst.com to find the Will Durst Journal, which is comedy for people who read or know someone who does. There you can also find all his dates and deets if you want to see him live. Cracked on and gone. One more episode of Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast. Thank you so much for listening to us. I hope you've been entertained, and maybe you've got another soundcast or two to seek out and listen to more episodes of that you hadn't previously been aware of. So then I can say that at the very least, you've been informed in some way. Specifically, that there's a whole world of soundcasts out there, in a world that still mostly calls them podcasts, as of this point in history. Maybe you'll choose one of them to take up the time that you reserve for listening to soundcasts, and you'll have no more need for Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast. I wouldn't say that that is the point of this program, but I must acknowledge that it can and probably does turn out that way for some listeners of this soundcast as well as other soundcasts. Tastes change and time is fleeting. I mean, Really what the show is doing is saying, try this, you might like it in larger amounts, and then letting you decide. We also interview some of those people when they are willing and able. We here at Succotash are empathetic with those who create content and understand the time it takes to make it all happen. So, if you do enjoy our content, why not share it with others, so that they also might have a few more choices presented to them in easily consumed and presumably digestible portions, to keep the food metaphor going. So again, thank you for listening, and if you wouldn't mind taking a little time out to rate and review us on iTunes, we'd be forever grateful, because in addition to telling others about us, the iTunes rating is another form of word of mouth that might even land us a real sponsor someday. One can dream. Good night, and until next time, I've been Tyson Saner, reminding you to please pass the Succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash Clips, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and... Imagine your company's name right here. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher Smart Radio, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Dunder, on Blitzen, on iHeartRadio, and on a laughable app. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at TysonSaner@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash hotline at our toll call number, 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us by using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, hosted by Tyson Saner. Our executive producer is Marc Hershon. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.